Is it? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for another week. My name is Cecilia Orozco, and I'm the Assistant Director of Communications for the City of Corpus Christi. We're here to provide some essential updates regarding our ongoing water supply initiatives, and our goal today is to ensure that you receive the most accurate, up-to-date information directly from the source. So we're going to begin with a brief overview of our recent developments and upcoming milestones. We're going to follow those remarks by providing a summary in Spanish. Then we're going to open the floor for a formal Q&A session. Please know that this session is reserved specifically for members of the media. We have a mic available, so you'll see some staff with that floating mic so you can ask that question. We'll also not be available for one-on-one interviews or individual follow-ups after this session, just because we've got other meetings, so please ask your questions during this time. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce our City Manager, Peter Zanoni. Thank you.
All right, good morning, and thank you, Cecilia, for that introduction. As Cecilia said, I'm Peter Zanoni, the City Manager for the City of Corpus Christi, and also representing Corpus Christi Water here this morning. So this is our weekly briefing, and we do want to thank the media for making accommodations. Normally, we've been having these briefings on Friday, but because we have a special council meeting tomorrow, we moved this to today, and we're appreciative of the media for accommodating that change this week. We do have a number of media outlets here with us in our chambers. I just want to recognize them. We have KIII, Preston West is here from KIII. We have Chris 6 TV, Rachel Clow, Joe Escobar, and Drew Bishop, and we appreciate you all being here this morning. So this is our weekly briefing. The briefing today will be a little bit shorter than the past couple of weeks. There's not too much new material since last week, but I will give a brief update on our water supply projects, and we'll talk about some of the upcoming events as well. But before we do that, let's talk about the lake levels, our water source levels. And so Choke Canyon is today at 7.5% capacity. Lake Corpus Christi is at 8.5% capacity, so combined capacity, we're at 7.8%. We know the western reservoirs, the two I just mentioned, for decades have been the city's traditional water sources or workhorse of our water system. At one point, delivering as much as 70 million gallons or 70% of all our water. But you can see today at these drought-induced levels, they're producing or providing 25 to 30 million gallons a day. And for a year now or so, we've shifted our reliance on water to our eastern sources, that being Lake Texana and the Lower Colorado River. And now we bring in 70% or about 70 million gallons from those supplies. Lake Texana, though, is being impacted by the drought as well. If you use the Texas Water Development Board's website, they have daily, or I guess real-time, almost hourly levels of all reservoirs in the state. And Lake Texana today on the Texas Water Development Board site is below 50%. So it's at 49.9%. The operators of Lake Texana, the Lower Colorado, Lavaca Navidad River Authority, their measurements are always about 2% higher. So I'm not sure what the official record is, if it's theirs or the Water Development Boards, but the Lavaca Navidad River Authority's records today show it's still above 50%, but the Texas Water Development Board shows it at 49.9%. So we did get some rain last week, you may recall, last Friday, Saturday, I guess Sunday. Unfortunately, while it was beneficial for our lawns and landscaping and maybe for some agricultural uses as well, it did not have any impact on our water levels. There was no impact essentially on Lake Corpus Christi, Choke Canyon, and Lake Texana, which is disappointing. So we'll have to wait for the next rain event to see if we can make some differences there. There is some more rain forecasted for later this week. But right now, it doesn't seem like it's going to be anything too impactful. We do meet weekly and sometimes more than 1 week with the National Weather Service, who has a bureau here in Corpus Christi, and so we're thankful for the National Weather Service team because they provide us with a lot of information. And so our sources from there don't indicate that this rain event coming up these next couple of days will have any impact. But what we do have is our groundwater projects that the City Council approved. And so when you look at groundwater and an effluent reuse project that the Council approved, we are bringing online 76 million gallons of water in the next 2 years. And that price tag is $1 billion. That's $1 billion worth of projects. I'm going to highlight where we are on some of them. So our eastern groundwater well field in Nueces County, that well field was the first one that we developed. It's 100% complete. There's 8 wells that have the capacity to produce 10 million gallons a day. But because of a water quality plan that we have to follow with TCEQ, today we're producing around 5 million gallons a day from that well field. We have a request into TCEQ to relax the requirements of the environmental monitoring plan, and we continue to work with TCEQ to see if we can get that relaxed, especially now since the combined western reservoirs are below 10%. Our bigger Nueces well field, known as the western groundwater well field, is moving along. By the end of this week, we'll have 6 wells completed. 6. So today there's 4 that are in production. By tomorrow, the weekend, we'll have 2 additional online, so a total of 6. That'll bring up to 12 million gallons into the river a day. Today, we're probably doing about 8 or so into the river. The river is a temporary conveyance system to get to the Owen Stevens treatment plant, which is around 10 to 13 miles or so from there. The adjoining property that recently City Council approved groundwater rights from, we refer to it as the ERF, the Ed Rochelle Foundation well site. We plan to close on those groundwater rights either this week or early next week. We have not closed on the groundwater rights, so we technically haven't owned them. There was some report of a well running a few weeks ago, but that wasn't us because we don't own it yet. But we will own the groundwater rights in the coming days, and when we do, we plan to secure drilling permits and production permits from the Corpus Christi Aquifer Storage and Recovery Conservation District, the long acronym, but CCARCD, and that is a groundwater district that was set up by the city years ago. It has a separate board and there's a general manager, so we'll apply to that board for drilling and production permits as soon as we get the rights secured and that contract closed. This site will have 9 wells, and they'll produce a little less per well than what we're doing on our, because of the construction, than the western well field. But the 9 wells are anticipated to produce about 9 million gallons. So when we look at the 2, the western and the ERF, which are right next to each other, the total combined is 26 million gallons of water. By June is the plan. So by June of this year. Also for these 2 well fields, the western and the ERF, the long-term plan, which would begin in about a year, is to convey that water via a pipeline 13 miles to the Owen Stevens treatment plant, where we will reverse osmosis some of the total dissolved solids, or the salt, out of the water through a containerized brackish RO system that City Council approved, about $43 to $45 million project just for the system. It's going to be stationed at or built at or assembled at the Owen Stevens water treatment plant, where there's ample power and existing resources. And so that groundwater will be higher quality. We can bypass putting it into the river. And while the well fields, the western and the ERF can do 26, we're going to treat 24. So we'll either only pump 24 or we may discharge the other 2 into the river, depending on the circumstances. So it's a good project, but for those that are worried about overuse of groundwater, while these seem like they are permanent, they are permanent projects. We're spending 43, nearly 45 million just on the system. We'll use them intermittently when other sources allow us to turn them off. And so if our western reservoirs rebound through rain events in the coming months, or if Evangeline's online, or if once our desal facility is built in about 3.5 years, we can turn off the groundwater projects anytime in that continuum. We don't have to wait for desal. If the reservoirs in the west are at elevated levels, and same thing in our eastern sources, we'll turn off groundwater. But they are permanent in that when we get to the next drought, we can turn these on without 1 to 2 years worth of design and construction and contract letting. That's the issue today with our community, is that we don't have any other sources of water except surface water. And we're in a drought of record, and without a backup supply, we're finding ourselves right where we don't want to be, which is where we're forecasting potentially that supply might not be enough for demand. So let's move now to the next county over, San Patricio County. We know we're working on a groundwater project there that has been talked about and has been modeled out probably for the past 40 years at a minimum. It's known as the Evangeline Groundwater Project. It's on a massive tract of a historic ranch, 22,000 acres. The city has purchased, and hasn't closed yet, but has purchased groundwater rights from that entity as well. And the plan is to drill a total of 22 wells, and there's 2 on site already that were done as part of the testing process. And so there'll be a total of 24 wells there, producing 24 million gallons of water. The project is moving along. The permits from that groundwater conservation district, one of them, the most important one, the production permit, has been approved twice. So 6 years ago, it was first approved. A year ago, that permit was renewed by the Groundwater Conservation District. The city still is in the process of obtaining, with the sellers of the water rights, we're still in the process of obtaining the drilling permits and the transportation permits. To that, there is a hearing later this month on Tuesday, April 28th at 1 o'clock. By an administrative law judge, Alicia York, and she will determine if 3 protestants who have filed protests on the drilling and transfer permits, she will determine if they have standing or not, and that'll be an important step in this project. But while that's taking place, we're still moving forward with the construction. Yesterday, with Pape Dawson and Hanson, the 2 design firms of record, we reviewed 60% drawings, the 60% design drawings. It took several hours. And there was, I think, 6 or 7 books of big design schematics as they are. And so the project in record speed in 2 months has been taken from 0% design to 60%. That's an award-winning effort, really, when it comes down to it, because normally that would take about a year plus, I think, to get to where we're at today. So design is 60% complete, and construction is underway. 2 weeks ago, the first shipment of pipe, some of the transmission pipe, came on site. That delivery of those pipes from the East Coast in America will be continuing with 90% of all the deliveries coming in by July of this year. So, important project. That would produce 24 million gallons of high-quality water. It does not need any treatment, given where the geographic formation is with the aquifer. That one is in good shape. And then a real important project, or projects for us, especially the ones that the rural communities talk about when we're talking about groundwater, is they talk about, you all have to do your desal project. You can't be taking all this groundwater and not have a desal facility. And so we do have 4 projects with varying degrees of completeness. And tomorrow, as I mentioned, the City Council will have a workshop on one of those. It's the city-sponsored one, the Inner Harbor Desalination Facility. We're also looking at Harbor Island. We have a reservation fee for water from that plant. Barney Davis location is a power plant known as Barney Davis in the city's south side. And then CC Polymers, which is an incomplete desal facility that was built as part of a plastics plant that both were never finished. But there's a company that's looking at finishing out the desal plant and selling about 10 million gallons to the city. If they can accomplish all that. So we're working with them on a contract. But the one that's most important and most ready, that has permits, that is fully funded by low interest loans from the state, that has the permits being the state permits, federal permits, that has real estate, that has a distribution system, that has power, that has a design build consultant on board, that have already given the City Council a price certain proposal of $978 million. That one will be considered tomorrow, and with a plan of considering the design contract later this month on April 28th, at a City Council meeting on April 28th. The other part of that I presented or recommended the City Council as part of this approach is to have a far field model done of the entire bay system, the Corpus Christi Bay system. So that includes Corpus Christi Bay, the ship channel where the facility would be located, and then Nueces Bay, which is a kind of a bay in the back. That project is coming along great. We appreciate the media for being there and covering it, and we appreciate residents attending and watching online. We're working with a group of 19 representatives from across the community who are working with a consultant who has a sub-consultant. So a lot of expertise is brought to the table, and they are developing a far-field model that would focus on what would be the impact of the Inner Harbor Desalination Facility to the water quality of the bay system. The good news is that the company known as Spheros will have their report nearly complete by April 28th, when council will consider the contract, and that'll be great information for council to have to determine environmental impacts, if any, so they can make a well-informed decision. There are 2 more meetings with the task force or the work group of 19 members. There's one on the 15th, I think, which is next week, and then a final one on the 23rd of April. And so those are 2 important meetings, open to the public. We broadcast them live. And then that'll lead us to April 28th, where Spheros will present their findings to the city council. And we haven't finalized it yet, but somehow we want the committee to also report to city council. So there'll probably be a representative or 2 from that 19-member group who during the city council meeting will provide some type of feedback to the council on what they believe Spheros is saying. So let's turn now to stakeholder engagement, and that's a big part of managing through this drought. We continue to meet with regional emergency professionals. That was a focus this week. A few weeks ago, we met with hospitals, schools. This week, the focus has been meeting with regional emergency management professionals. That includes personnel from Nueces County, Aransas Pass, and Refugio counties. So we're talking regionally. We know we're a regional water provider that provides water to communities in 7 different counties, a total of 20 communities in those 7 counties. So it's important that we work with the region as we navigate through this drought. We continue also to meet with large volume heavy industrial customers to develop their baseline plan. And I'm not prepared today, but we're going to maybe next week or via memo, we're going to kind of clear up how many large volume users are out there. Nick Winkleman in a briefing last week mentioned 23. That's a number of connections that we have, or a number of accounts at the billing office. That's not the number of users, large volume users. I'm not prepared today to talk about it, but we will clear that up soon so that we're using the right number. So that's kind of the wrap up for this week. So in closing, let me just tell you what we're doing today and then next week. And so tomorrow, as I mentioned, at 9 o'clock right here in these city council chambers, there'll be a special city council workshop on the Inner Harbor project that the mayor has called for. Now, this is new information. You heard me talk about the 28th. Right now, the plan was to do a workshop on the 28th, but we're gonna ask council's approval at the Tuesday council meeting to change that lineup. So the recommended lineup for the month of April, with 3 meetings of the city council, is a council meeting tomorrow, next Tuesday, April 14th. Then on April 21, let me back up. Tomorrow there's a workshop on Inner Harbor. Next Tuesday, there'll be a workshop, a city council meeting on April 14th, a regular one. Then on April 21, the Tuesday, we're going to recommend we do another workshop on the level 1 water emergency preparedness with the city council. And then on April 28th, instead of a workshop, it'll be a regular meeting. And in that meeting, we will be making recommendations to city council for policy approval related to level 1 water emergencies, just so we're prepared. Things like what would be allocation percentages, what would be charge surcharges, what about washing your vehicle, what about washing your motor of a motorboat, of a boat, what about swimming pools, what about new construction. Those are just some of the policy issues that we need city council to be on record with making a decision, so that there's certainty in the community about how do we move forward if we enter into a level 1 water emergency. Also important to note that on April 21, during that workshop, we will show an updated model of where supply and demand is in the future, because that'll help us determine when we would call a level 1 water emergency. We're probably going to narrow it down to 1 or 2 instead of the 5 that we had, given that there's more certainty now, because we need to determine an allocation amount, and that's going to depend on how much water we anticipate having in the future and how much demand we have. So on the 21st, that'll be an important date on that, and I'll talk more about it next week. Also for next week, we'll do the briefing on Thursday as well. There's a regional meeting in Beeville, a regional city manager, city administrator meeting that I'll be attending in Beeville on Friday. So we'll have this briefing on Thursday as well next week. So I appreciate people accommodating us for that as well next week. So with that, we're going to turn it over to Gabby for a Spanish translation, and then I'll come back up to answer questions.
Este es un resumen de la actualización sobre el suministro de agua. Los niveles actuales de los lagos se encuentran de la siguiente manera. En Chow Canyon está al 7.5%, el lago de Corpus Christi está al 8.5%, la capacidad combinada de ambos lagos es de 7.8%. El lago Texana se encuentra al 49.9% de acuerdo a la Directiva del Desarrollo de Agua de Texas. Cabe recalcar que las lluvias recientes beneficiaron a los jardines y la agricultura, pero no tuvieron impacto en los niveles de los embalses. En cuanto a las actualizaciones sobre proyectos de agua subterránea, la meta es contar con 76 millones de galones diarios para los próximos 2 años. En el área oeste del condado de Nueces hay 8 pozos produciendo 4.7 millones de galones por día. En el área oeste se encuentran 4 pozos operativos. Se esperan 2 más esta semana, alcanzando los 12 millones de galones diarios. El objetivo para tener una totalidad de los 12 pozos es para el mes de junio. El sitio de la Fundación Ed Rochelle, esta semana se estima el cierre de la adquisición de derechos de agua, en donde se obtendrán 9 pozos planificados que producirán 9 millones de galones diarios. Recalcamos que una vez que las presas aumenten su capacidad, se va a disminuir el uso de algunos de estos pozos, mismos que ya estarán listos en caso de pasar por otra sequía. En cuanto al proyecto Evangeline, el 60% del diseño ya se encuentra listo, mientras que el 90% de la tubería se habrá entregado para el mes de julio. Se ha programado una audiencia crítica sobre la legitimación procesal para el 28 de abril, y mientras eso sucede, nosotros seguiremos trabajando en la preconstrucción. Sobre la desalinización de mar, actualmente existen 4 sitios bajo consideración: el Inner Harbor, Harbor Island, Barney Davis y CC Polymers. El proyecto de estudio Fairfield continúa bajo desarrollo, el cual se enfocará en el impacto que tendrá al medio ambiente. Se espera que en el 28 de abril tengamos ya un resultado que será presentado ante el Concilio de la Ciudad. Continuamos reuniéndonos con profesionales en la región, como hospitales, así como líderes de la región, quienes proveen agua en 7 condados aledaños a Nueces. También nos hemos reunido con la industria para poder contar con mejores planes para ellos. El día de mañana va a haber un taller especial a las 9 de la mañana con respecto al proyecto Inner Harbor. Este solamente va a ser informativo y no se va a tomar ninguna decisión. El 14 de abril habrá otro taller informativo, mientras que el 21 de abril un taller más y el 28 habrá una junta regular del Concilio de la Ciudad.
Okay, we'll start with questions from the media, but I do have a question from Colleen with the Texas Tribune.
Okay.
She's got 2. First one is, what should we expect at tomorrow's workshop? And what are you and CCW hoping is the outcome of tomorrow?
Right, so tomorrow's workshop has a defined agenda. It's 2 things. One, the city staff will provide the city council with an update on the contract that we have with Corpus Christi Desal Partners. So Corpus Christi Desal Partners is the entity that would design and build the plant. And we have a contract for 60% design services and a pilot demonstration plant and development of a guaranteed maximum price. That contract is about 1,000 pages. It's a $78 million contract. So we're going to tell council where we are on the negotiating. We've been negotiating for several weeks, I think in excess of almost 2 months maybe. But we'll let the council know how the progress is coming and what remains to be negotiated. That'll be an important part. The contract readiness will be important for the vote on the 28th, and I can tell you now, today, we're in good shape. Corpus Christi Desal Partners, that's made up of 2 big companies. One is called Acciona, who would be the process technology group. their technology would be used to treat the water. And then MasTec would be the heavy hull contractor. And so those two teams are working with us to develop this contract. Local firm Ardura is a designer of record for the project. They'll be here tomorrow as well, and they're somewhat part of the negotiating, although the contract legally is between those two firms in the city. And then the third thing, there'll be two things for the contract: how is it and what's remaining. And then the third item will be just a general update on the project if somebody's tuning in for the first time. A general update, overview of what is the project, and what are the next steps coming up. So that'll be it. So what we hope to get tomorrow from the council is just some positive feedback. Generally, that it's a chance for them to ask questions on the contract, on the delivery. If there's any additional questions on this design build concept, which is different than the Kiewit one that was in place about a year ago. That'll give council a chance to ask more questions on it in a public setting. The ultimate action coming from it would be a vote by the City Council on Tuesday, April 28th on the contract to approve it or not. If they approve it, that'll allow us to move forward with the design of the facility, and that would be a pretty significant vote because it's a pretty significant contract valued at $78 million. It would take about a year to get to 60% design. And from April, May to completion, to turn the plant on, would be about 3.5 years. So the firm the group, Corpus Christi Desal Partners, has told us it'll take about 3.5 years from now. And so if the council approves this contract and then the construction one about a year from now, we can expect that by the end of 2029, the plant will be operational. So.
Okay, and her second question, most of it, I think, will be answered tomorrow, but if you want to answer briefly, her question from Colleen at Texas Tribune is, would you be able to walk us through what the Inner Harbor desal project is, what stage is it at, how much would it cost, and where would it be?
Yeah, so if Colleen's going to tune in tomorrow, I hope too, but that's a long response. But the project is, with a prior firm, had 10% design. So there's a lot known about a design of the facility. It made it to 10% design. Acciona and MasTec and Ardura bid. They were one of the three companies that that wanted to get the project, and so it took all those firms about a year to study the area, to put in proposals. So a lot of work is done. The next steps would be the design, to go from less than 10%. Using some of the data that we already purchased to 60% would take about a year. And then there would be one more vote of the council to approve a construction contract with the same firm about a year from now. And that would start the construction to get to completion by the end of 2029. So it's a pretty robust plant. Some of the technologies are different from this company with Acciona, who has worldwide experience either building or running today 90 different desalination facilities. A lot of expertise. MasTec is a massive firm that does a lot of construction across the country. And so we expect, if council approves it, that we're going to get a great outcome. We have a lot of confidence in this team. And tomorrow will be more presentation on that. So we do appreciate the Texas Tribune tuning in to our briefings. Okay, Rachel?
Let's talk about Evangeline. So the
Okay.
purchase agreement required Evangelina Laguna to deliver non-appealable drilling and transport permits within 180 days.
Right.
By my count, we're either at 180 days or close to it. So has the deadline passed? If so, what is the city's next step under the contract? And has the city formally extended or waived that deadline?
Yeah, good. So that Rachel Clow from Chris 6 TV is asking about the legal terms and the water right purchase. And when council approved it, it said upon execution of the agreement, there were certain trigger points to get permits. We had so many days to do due diligence. The clock started when the document was signed by both parties. And while council approved it last year, it took some time for Evangeline Laguna to get everything in order to be able to execute a contract. And so it was just executed a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, so the clock just begins a couple of weeks ago. But to Rachel Clow's point, the purchase of the water rights did come with stipulations, and that is that the sellers of the water rights needed to get the drilling and the transfer permits, and that's what we're working through. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Preston West with Channel 3 News, and this question was sent in by one of our senior reporters, Michael Gibson, and he would like to know how much more money can we borrow to do water projects with our credit rating going down so far?
Great, I'm glad somebody brought that up. So it's important to clarify that our credit rating did not go down. It did not go down. So Fitch Ratings yesterday, in what we call an annual surveillance of our credit rating, gave us an opinion on our credit rating. And the annual surveillance in this case is done for GO, general obligation bond debt. And that's to pay for things like roads and fire stations. It's monies that we'll borrow that the voters approved in the 2024, maybe some remaining 2022 bond program projects. So in order to issue these GO bonds in late summer, we begin the process of getting our credit reviewed, or surveilled as they call it, by 3 rating agencies, Fitch, Moody's, and Standard & Poor's. Fitch Ratings has been working with us over the past couple of weeks, and yesterday they issued their opinion on our credit rating for GO debt, not utility revenue bond debt. They upheld our high credit rating of a AA. That was upheld, so that's good news. That should have been the headline, that the city's credit rating remains stable and at high quality. It's a AA. When they do these ratings, they also give you a forecast, and we went from a stable outlook to a negative outlook, but the outlook is not the credit score or the credit rating. And it's expected that if, given the water challenges we have in this drought of record that's crippling the region, this is not unusual, that our outlook would be lowered. But the credit rating remains high, and the credit agency told us that. You all should be proud of yourselves, they said. You still will get very competitive rates when we issue debt later this summer. And knowing that it would be a challenge, we put a lot of mitigation efforts in place already, and we'll talk to City Council about those soon. Maybe I'll talk to this group next week about them. But as an example, when we hire the underwriter, we're not just going to pick one from a list. We've been interviewing about a dozen underwriters who, through the interview process, we'll be able to tell who's going to work the hardest for us to get the best interest rate, given the conditions we're in. And so that has taken effort, but it's going to keep us at a competitive interest rate and help the ratepayer, taxpayer. So we appreciate that. So how much more money can we borrow? That's something we'll talk to council about. When we do, I mentioned that we have 76 million gallons of new water sources at a price tag of $1 billion. Some of that $1 billion is state monies. They helped us with $48 million in grant, non-repayable grant monies. We have lower interest loans for the, that's for the desal, but in that amount of money, it's going to be phased in over time. Payments for projects come in over time, so it's not that we need $1 billion like right now. It's as the work is done, as the checks are cut to companies, as materials bought, and so on. That's when we'll start issuing debt. So it'll be phased in over a few years. But we still have capacity to borrow more, and that's something that we'll be working with the council on.
Morning, Peter. Drew Bishop.
Yes, sir, Drew. Good morning.
Corpus 6 News. So just on background, we put out a post yesterday asking residents, what their questions would be. So we screened some of those questions, and I'm going to ask you a few of those today.
Okay.
I wanted to start off with one from Rudy Hinojosa. He asks, has the city explored providing financial assistance, tax credits, rebates, grants to encourage homeowners to adopt atmospheric water generation or water capture systems, rain barrels, stuff like that,
Right.
to supplement local supply?
Good, yeah, thank you, Drew Bishop from Chris 6. So, and we appreciate Chris 6 doing that. We saw that ourselves, where persons can write into your site and get questions answered. So we do have, to supplement a residential home water use, one program we do have is the rain barrels. And a person can buy a rain barrel here at City Hall and pick it up at one of our yards. Those are available. We don't have any tax credits or rebates for atmospheric generation. That source of water is pretty expensive, and so we haven't entertained any grants for it at this point.
Another one comes from Julie Winkler Barraza. She asks, why are city officials saying arsenic and other toxins are coming from the lakes when other municipalities drawing from the same lakes are not failing water quality tests?
Well, unfortunately, they are failing water quality tests, and so TCEQ on 2 quarterly inspections with one of our water districts reported higher elevations of arsenic, and so they are. And so we test for arsenic along various points along the water system. We test at the lakes, we test at the river, along the river, we test at the intake at Owen Stevens, and then we test at the discharge at Owen Stevens. It's important for the community to know what these levels are. We're not talking about arsenic to instill fear. It's just we're very transparent, and the community needs to know what the water quality is. Water coming from our treated plant, the Owen Stevens treatment plant, is still of high quality. It has a superior water rating. We recently had a quarterly inspection by TCEQ, and just on arsenic, there was a non-detect level. So there is basically no arsenic by the time we take water from the lakes through the river and blend it with 70 million gallons from East Texas. The arsenic is essentially non-detect. But if a community is drawing water exclusively from one or two of the sources in our west, Choke Canyon or Lake Corpus Christi, and they don't have an ability to blend it with any other water, it will have elevated arsenic levels, and it will have elevated total dissolved solid levels, or TDS levels. That's just a fact. So that's why we're working with communities to help them, even though they're not a customer of ours. Like the city of Robstown will have access to treated water from us at no cost because of their circumstances that they see with their only source of water being Lake Corpus Christi. Yes, sir.
Preston West, Channel 3 News again. And another question sent in by Michael Gibson, our senior reporter at Channel 3. Michael Gibson said he had a conversation with you last week that large volume users have not cut back on their water use. Why is it that, and what projects do they have that the city is involved with to change their water sources from our treated water?
Yeah, so that was Michael Gibson via Preston from KIII. So the city does not help large volume users, basically the industrial customers that we have, like a Valero or Citgo or Flint Hills. We don't, they're very proprietary, and so the city isn't over there in their plants configuring water treatment systems. It's just not, it doesn't happen that way in business. We do work with them though to see what are they doing. And our city council has asked numerous times, and we ask, what are you all doing that consume 50 to 60% of the region's water? What have you done, and what are you doing to try to conserve water or to put in newer technologies where the amount of water you need to use would be less? They have demonstrated some companies more clearly than others that they in fact have reduced some water use through treatment processes, newer technologies. They have not, when you look at charts that we showed City Council at our last workshop, it's a fact that large volume users, when you aggregate them all, they have not reduced consumption over the past 2 years. When you compare that to residential accounts, the residential customer and the commercial accounts have reduced use in the past 2 years. And that's demonstrated, and you can see that on our website at this point. But under this scenario of curtailment, if we go into curtailment, the allotted water to large volume users as a percentage, well, it's the same percent across the board. The amount of water that will kind of make up from reductions in demand is the majority of that water is going to come from large volume users because they use the most today, and their baseline level is higher, where our residential baseline level the baseline level is here, but the use today is already well below that. So the residential customer probably won't have to change much in terms of their behavior, but large volume users and maybe some commercial accounts will have to do some pretty significant modifications to how they use water to develop the demand drive down. That's the whole purpose of curtailment or allocations. Mm-hmm.
Question once again, and one of our senior producers, Samantha Herta, sent in this question. Have they decided on splash pad and pool restrictions?
Yeah, good question. Thank you for that, Preston. So KIII is asking about what a lot of us have been asking about, which is the city's municipal swimming pools and splash pads. I think we have about 6 swimming pools and about 5 or 6 splash pads across our community. And we know they use water, so we have to make a recommendation to the community, really, about will we open those, given the drought circumstances. Last year, as an example, when we were in stage 3 water restrictions, we made modifications to the schedule, and swimming pools pretty much were open as normal, but splash pads were reduced to just 3 days a week. I think it was either Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday, Monday, just to try to reduce consumption in water. So what we're doing right now is our Parks Department is analyzing how much water is used each day if the facility is 100% open. So that means how much water do we have to use at each swimming pool to keep them at a level if there's no cover on it, and how much water is used each day at the splash pads if they're open at the full amount of time that they're open. The splash pads, let me just let the community know, have a recycling system, so it's not a constant turn on tap to make those work. So once kind of the pool of water is filled up, it's recycled and used, but there is still some inflow that goes back in to accommodate things like evaporative loss and just loss from kids splashing it around. So we have to make a determination. We know that we care about our community, we care about our hardworking families, and for some of them, this is the only recreation they can have. And so we're extremely mindful of that. We're also extremely mindful that big companies use a lot of the water, and so we don't want a narrative where we're punishing hardworking, blue-collar families at the expense of large companies who have good profits. So it's a decision we have to make. We know that there's perception too that we're trying to counteract. And so if we're saying, you know, we're going to enter into a level 1 emergency in a couple of months, why are we going to open swimming pools? I think the answer lies in that family. We care about families, and for many families, many kids in Corpus Christi and adults, this is their only access to entertainment when it comes to water. And we care about that. And so we're going to make a decision that focuses on the family first, and then tries to neutralize negative perception and water loss as well. That'll be coming up pretty soon, Preston. Yeah.
Peter Drew Bishop, Chris 6 News again, asking on the behalf of Jesselyn Dixon, who asks, what is the city's concrete plan for rural Nueces County residents when private wells run dry? Unlike city customers, these residents have no backup infrastructure, no valve to turn on. What specific commitments has the city made, and are they in writing?
Right, that's a good question. So as Drew Bishop said, we do have a number of wells in Nueces County, some more in rural areas than others, depending on the well field. It is important to note that the design and the construction of our well fields does not take water from where most residential homes or ranching and farming operations take water from. The aquifer is not like a limestone aquifer that you might find in San Antonio. So this aquifer that we're taking water from is known as the Evangeline, or I think Gulf Coast. Gulf Coast is the overarching name. But I do encourage people just maybe to Google that and see. So the aquifer is really a formation of various layers of sand, clay, and it's not just straight. There's faults, there's shifts or faults that kind of break up a nice straight line underground. And so in each of those layers, there is trapped water. And the layer that we're targeting, 800 to 1,000 feet, water has been trapped there for millions of years, either 1 million or millions, plural. This is science. It's hard to believe, but it comes from our hydrogeologist, Terra. And so the water was trapped there 1 million years ago, and it doesn't really replenish quickly. It takes years, like 5+ years. And so the issue is, will it deplete? And so our hydrogeologist has studied it and used this study parameter, not that we're going to do this, we're not going to do this, but he said if we pump that formation every day, every hour of every day for 30 years straight, what would be the drawdown rate? And it's a few feet. It's a few feet. That's saying that we're going to produce the 26 million, at least in the western, and maybe even plus the 10. The 36 million every day, every minute of every day, every month of every year for 30 years straight. there's still only a minimal drawdown. So that's an important quick science lesson here. But so for the residential wells, their wells may be going dry because we're in a drought of record. And so those wells are replenished when it does rain. I don't know how quickly they replenish, but when it does rain, that surface water drains into that 300 to 500 depth, and those do replenish. And so there are customers, or not customers, there are families and ranchers that are seeing a difference in their well, but it's not, and this is not coming from me, it's coming from the hydrogeologist who's an expert in this. It's not necessarily because of what we're doing. It's more so because of the drought. And as they use the water and there's no replenishment in that strata of the aquifer, they can have an impact on the well, either the amount of water it's producing or the quality. So what the city is doing, though, even though they're not customers of the city, is we have stuff written, we have a lot of material in writing on our website. And is it going to be the Corpus Christi one, or, I mean, the CCW one? Yeah, so our website that was designed specifically to help us through this drought of securing water, what's the rest of it? Yeah. Okay, securingwater.corpuschristitx.gov. So securing water, all one word, Corpus Christi, spelled out, tx.gov. That's a special website we have just for this drought. So on there is a lot of written material, Drew, on what rural communities can do, what they can get from us to help them. That includes things like free tests of their wells today. We'll help them determine the depth of their well. We'll do free water quality testing for them. We'll do periodic monitoring of their well for them. We can have conversations with them. If something happens to their well, we can help them with resources. Obviously, we don't have pipelines from our own Stevens treatment plant, so we can't really supply them water from our treatment facility. But we have a lot of resources, and we care about rural communities just as we care about the inner city neighborhoods. And so we do have a lot of material on our website that'll further elaborate what I was saying, Drew, so we appreciate that question. That's right. The staff just reminded me, we do have a hotline. That number is 361-826-1600. And so 826-1600, 361 area code. That's a 8 to 5 monitored phone line that if you have a question on how do I get my well monitored, how can I get it tested. On our well fields too, I should say, we've gone above and beyond in their design. And so we have them sealed off from formations, depending on where the well is, where rural and farm and ranch water is, meaning that because there's clay layers that separate the water, when you seal them off, the water, we can't be taking water from the upper formations, it's just coming from the lower. Additionally, we have monitoring wells at all our well fields. That's a separate, smaller well that helps us with the water depth and changes in elevation. And we will also be installing equipment that'll monitor subsidence. These are all added value, not required, but we're doing them because we care about the communities in our 7 counties. And so those are additional features that we'll add to help with information and monitoring of these wells out there.
Drew Bishop, once again, Chris 6 News. We got a lot of question about industry, as you can expect, so I want to ask at least one of those. This one comes from Sherry Bouquet, who asks, why aren't industries that use more than half the water supply being held responsible for paying more than half the cost of fixing the situation?
Yeah, so I think that question from one of our residents here is, let me see if I understand it, Drew, but basically if industry is using 50 to 60% of the water, why aren't they paying 50 to 60% of the price? And I think the answer is, I know the answer is that they are paying their fair share. And this wasn't the case when I started here as city manager 7 years ago. But in the last 3 years or 4 years, I recommended in one of our budget processes, and city council approved it. It was literally a doubling of the rates for large volume users for industry. We doubled the rates. And no city manager dared to do that before, but when we hired a new rate modeler that looked at rates, he was pretty surprised because he found out just what the resident thought, which was that industry wasn't paying for 50% or 60% of the water costs. But we made that a policy. City Council approved it. They've been paying their fair share now for at least 3 years through the recommendations that we gave. So they're paying for all customers pay proportional to the water they use. So if they're using 50 to 60% of the water, they're paying 50 to 60% of all the costs associated with that water, with the exception of a few things like a customer service call center. They don't use that, so they don't pay for that. And neighborhood distribution lines, they don't pay for that. But things like the source of the water, the treatment process, the big trunk line distributions, new water sources, the desal plant, this $1 billion of new water, they're going to be paying 50 to 60% of that cost. Mm-hmm.
Peter, you've said that the city has secured 76 MGD in new water at a cost of $1 billion. My question is, if you look at the eastern and western well field, which has a monitoring plan, what is the real water secured, let's say, that will be online by October, which is one of our potential emergency dates, right?
Right.
Because I think that's a little confusing. If you say you've secured 10 in the eastern well field, but you can only pump about 4.5, you haven't really secured 10.
Yeah, good question. So Rachel Cloud from Chris 6 is asking about, did we really secure 76 million? It's a great question, because another example beyond the one you just said is the Evangeline project. That's 24 million, is not finalized yet. The permits to drill and to transfer that water have not been approved yet, and so it's not finalized. But we have the water rights purchased. We're buying equipment, and we have a contractor underway designing the project. So that 76 million, to be clear, that's if everything went exactly the way we want it to. And so in some of our groundwater projects in Nueces County, not in some, but in all of them, we have a water quality management plan that TCEQ has mandated we follow. Right now in the eastern well field that has 8 wells that can produce 10 million, we're discharging or producing about 4.5 to 5, sometimes a little more, depending on how water quality is. So we do have a request into TCEQ to try to get that waived when certain conditions exist, like the lakes are below 10%. So we're hopeful we might be able to do that. The bigger water from the Nueces well fields is from our western well field and the adjoining Ed Rochelle. That one we have good confidence in. That's why we're waiting to do this update on the supply-demand scenario, because we want to see, can we put in what we think we can put in, which would be 17 from one well field, 9 from the other, or a total of 26. That water TDS quality is about, it has half the amount of TDS or salt than the eastern well field. So we feel pretty confident today with 4 wells running at about 10 million gallons. There's no issue on the water quality management plan. So I guess that's a good point that Rachel's saying, which is we probably should nuance that a little bit, that it's if everything goes as we plan, and if we get certain exceptions, we can do the 76. It's really probably the biggest question will be that eastern well field. The western, we're seeing pretty decent results right now. Within about a year, all that water from the western well field will be conveyed via pipeline. We're in the process of designing and building that, so we won't even need the river anymore or the bed and banks permit. The eastern well field will need that bed and banks permit. The Evangeline projects is a big part of that 26 million. That's 76 million. That's 24 million, and we'll see here at the end of the month with the administrative law judge. And then the effluent reuse project, that's 16 million. That's a lot of permits from TCEQ are either approved or in review. The design and construction and the offtake customers like Valero and Citgo and Flint Hills are already signing contracts. So that one's pretty for sure. Yeah.
We only have time for 2 more questions.
Okay. Last one here from myself, Drew Bishop, Chris 6 News. This one comes from Sean Dillon Merritt, who asks, why are surcharges and curtailments being approved before a level 1 water emergency exists, especially when earlier emergency timelines have already shifted?
Yeah, that's great. We appreciate Sean asking that. I read that one myself. So What we want to do is during this month here of April, we're going to forecast this supply-demand scenario that we've been showing the community. And we're going to see a point in time where if everything doesn't go exactly as we hope, there could be a point where we have to call a level 1 water emergency. And the declaration of that emergency means that 6 months from that point, supply won't be enough for demand. It's not that supply is at zero, it's that there will be a gap between supply and demand. And so what we want is predictability for all customer classifications. So we want our residential customers to start thinking about this. We want especially the large volume users to start knowing about this with more certainty, and same thing with commercial customers. So we're going to have City Council approve allocations and percentages later this month, and also vote on will surcharges go into effect when we declare a level 1 emergency or not, so that the community knows what to expect. There's a lot of our customers want to plan and budget. So if we do curtailment, if we do surcharges and price goes up a little bit for the cost for water, institutions like school districts, hospitals, commercial businesses like hotels and restaurants, they need to forecast out how much am I going to spend now on water. They also need to plan on, if I can't take my full allotment and I'm reduced by a percentage, what does that mean for me as a business? So I have to start thinking about that now while I have several months, so that we're not springing it on them out of the blue one day. And it's especially true for our large volume partner customers. They have to make adjustments now in their operations. They have to plan on how they're going to turn down operations if that takes place. So it's a great question from one of the residents that has been working with Chris Six, and it's just so we have good planning and good strategy. It's very similar to a hurricane that we know how to handle real well here. So if a hurricane comes in, we don't wait to the minute that it's right on the shore of the Gulf or on our bay and start telling people we got a hurricane. We tell them as far in advance as we can, and we start sharing with them information on where they should go, where they can buy supplies, what the event's going to look like. So same thing here. This could be an emergency, and so we want to give the community in 7 counties and 20 communities more information sooner than later, just for awareness, number 1, 2, for proper planning, 3, and then 2, and then 3 would be things like budgeting and business operations.
Following some very strong statements by the governor, the mayor announced she was calling an emergency special meeting to vote on Inner Harbor. That meeting is now a workshop and is scheduled for tomorrow. Would you explain why it is now a workshop and why there is no vote being taken or public comment?
Yeah, so the mayor should answer that question because she's the architect of the concept and then of the agenda item that's on for tomorrow. Part of it may rest in the fact that the contract won't be 100% ready tomorrow. She and I did talk about how likely is it that around this time would the contract be executable. And we did advise her that it probably won't be 100% ready this week. It's 1,000 pages. It's a $78 million legal contract that actually has implications on the bigger $978 million project. So it's got to be right. The contract isn't ready. The mayor knows that, so I think she may have shifted her position from let's take a vote on it to, okay, since the contract won't be ready, not because of something we didn't do, but because it's just a massive contract, and all along we had planned for it only to be ready at the end of April, not the second week of April, or the first week of April. I think that's probably why. But I think it's a good idea to do just to keep this project in front of the council and the community. Just this week, there was a group of county judges that met in Goliad, I believe, and one of the comments they said is the city canceling the desal project? Because we don't need you coming up in our counties, Corpus Christi, and taking out groundwater if you're not going to do your own project, right? So giving certainty to the region is always helpful. So having a workshop to talk about it and kind of see where the council might be going based on their feedback will be helpful to the region, helpful for us, helpful for the big companies that are putting a lot of money into this at no pay. We're not paying them. They're doing a lot of free work right now. It'll give them some more certainty as well. So I think that's a part of it. It'll be at 9 o'clock tomorrow. We don't expect it to be too long of a meeting. No council workshop of the city council. The policy is generally that there's no citizen comment then, but there'll be an opportunity for citizen comment next Tuesday at a council meeting as well on the 28th. If council approves that calendar change, that's when the vote is scheduled for that $78 million design contract. Yeah, thank you, Rachel.
Okay, thank you. So that does conclude our media briefing for this morning. We want to thank you for your flexibility, and we will see you again next Thursday at 10 a.m. Just as a reminder, this is recorded live every time we do have this meeting. If you have any questions, please send them over to communications department at corpuschristitx.gov. Thank you.